A federal appeals court just ruled Indiana's 25-foot law is unconstitutionally vague.
This is a law that was passed back in 2023 and has faced several lawsuits over the years claiming violations of the First Amendment. Among them, a lawsuit that came from several central Indiana media outlets, including WTHR and our parent company, Tegna. This buffer zone law essentially establishes a 25-foot zone around officers who are performing official duties. It gives them the authority to order anybody nearby to, quote, back up. And it could lead to misdemeanor charges, fines, and even potential jail time for bystanders who disobey.
So the law's been on hold since last September after a federal judge ruled the law was too vague to be enforced fairly. Right now, a federal appeals court has upheld that decision.
Vice President J.D. Vance is coming here to visit Indiana tomorrow. The governor, Mike Braun, says that redrawing congressional district lines could be a part of the conversation.
The vice president is headed to town for an RNC fundraiser, and our Marina Silva joins us in studio tonight at 6 to explain what it would take for the state to change the voting lines. Marina?
Well, Indiana has 9 congressional districts. 7 are Republican and 2 are Democrat. The lines for the districts were drawn after the last U.S. Census in 2021. That's the normal time for state lawmakers to redraw lines for both state and congressional races. This new effort to adjust congressional district comes as President Trump is vocal over a redistricting vote in Texas. The Republican goal there is to pick up more seats in the U.S. House. We're not in a census year. That doesn't happen for another 5 years. But the idea of redrawing districts midterm is spilling over in other states, possibly here in predominantly Republican Indiana. Political science professor Dr. Laura Wilson says if it happens, it would be a first for the state.
This would be unprecedented, and in part because we recognize it takes a lot to redraw district lines, and the idea of the legitimacy is it's because of census data. There's no reason to believe anything else has changed that we would need to redraw the district lines to address.
Now we're told by NBC that the vice president will be attending an RNC fundraiser tomorrow. We don't know any details about the vice president's visit beyond that. We also reached out to Republican lawmakers at the state level to ask them to weigh in on the idea of redistricting. They did not contact us back.
Well, turning to weather, the temperatures have certainly warmed up. That comfortable air mass that was in place over the weekend has certainly eroded, and the humidity has come back in and the temperatures are rising. Look at the 86, which is where we sit currently at the airport. Meanwhile, just about everyone else is in the 80s. There were some showers to the east, which cooled things down a bit. Right now, we are tracking a couple of lighter showers that have popped up, maybe some heavier downpours in a few locations. I've been tracking one that's maybe just to the south of Ruoff. We're still tracking this maybe over Geist, although the heaviest rain is a little bit closer to Fortville. We'll watch these. These are driven by the heating of the day. So once we lose the heating of the day, most of that will also begin to subside. But we don't expect the coverage to be significant. Otherwise, it's really just a numbers game. Watching the temperatures fall. They won't fall a lot, but through the 70s. And I think we'll end up in the upper 60s for tonight. The humidity that's in place isn't quite as humid as what was in place maybe a couple of weeks ago, but still upper 60s expected for tonight. And looking ahead to tomorrow, your forecast for Thursday, upper 80s. Lots of sunshine, couple of stray storms. We'll talk about temperatures through the weekend, making it into the 90s. And I'll have that for you coming up in just a few.
All right, we'll see you in a little bit, Rob. Thanks so much. Tonight, police in Greenwood tell us a death investigation for a pregnant mom and her young son is now a homicide case.
We're also told that the suspect in the case remains on the loose at this hour. Jenny Runovich talked with the police chief today about this ongoing intense search for answers.
Well, it is all hands on deck. Police say they have more than a dozen detectives working this homicide case. But the biggest thing the police chief shared today is they need your help. Something you saw, something captured on camera, potentially that could lead to a killer.
We saw detectives going door to door Wednesday on Greenway Street, hunting down clues. They aren't revealing a motive or sharing how the victims died, but they do say 33-year-old Karen Clay was the victim of a homicide, a mom in her 3rd trimester of pregnancy. Police have not said how 3-year-old Carter died.
I can tell you from almost a 30-year law enforcement career, it's the children that leave the lasting trauma to police officers.
The victims' bodies were in the home for up to a week, and right now there's no suspect. So investigators are asking people to share security video or anything suspicious they saw or heard between July 28th and August 1st. Greenwood's police chief also has a message for the killer.
we are going to find you. We are not going to stop. We will be relentless. The public has my word that we are putting every resource possible towards a conclusion to this.
So if you can help detectives help find justice for this mom and her toddler, call Greenwood Police. We also have a link to an anonymous tip line on WTHR.com. In Greenwood, Jenny Runovich, 13 News.
Tonight, an Indianapolis man is facing a preliminary charge of attempted murder for allegedly leading the police of Westfield on a chase, and then he's accused of firing shots at officers.
All of this unfolding near US 31 and 196th Street. Westfield police tell us that officers tried to stop the suspect before he took off, eventually crashing his car and then escaping police.
Police arrested that suspect after a brief search in Hamilton County. At this hour, we're still awaiting official charging details from the Hamilton County prosecutor.
Still to come tonight, AES wants to raise your rates on your electric bill.
We did the math, how much this proposal could cost you and how you can make your voice heard tonight. Rob?
And you may need to use that AC a bit more as the temperature is expected to move back closer to 90 degrees for the next several days. I'll show you the 7-day forecast, which also includes some rain chances.
The Indianapolis City County Council looks to move forward after recent assault allegations within the Joe Hogsett administration.
What comes next in the plans to overhaul the policies there?